In the scorching summer of 1947, at a time when the United States was celebrating victory in World War II and quietly entering a new era of atomic anxiety, something strange happened in the skies above the American Southwest. Near the small desert town of Roswell, a violent storm swept across the plains. Thunder cracked, lightning lit up the night, and somewhere in the darkness, something came down. The next morning, a local rancher discovered debris scattered across his land. Thin metallic fragments that bent but never broke. Strange symbols etched into beams. Materials that felt light as paper, yet resisted fire, knives, and heat. This was not wreckage from any aircraft he had ever seen, and instinctively, he knew it did not belong to the ordinary world. When the debris reached military authorities, events accelerated at an alarming speed. The nearby airbase, home to some of the most advanced strategic units in the country, issued a press release that would change history. For a brief but explosive moment, the United States Army Air Forces publicly announced that it had recovered a flying disc. Newspapers across the nation printed the headline. Radios buzzed with excitement. In a post-war America already fascinated by science fiction and fearful of unknown threats from the sky, the idea that the military had captured something not of this earth electrified the public imagination. But then, just as suddenly as the announcement appeared, it vanished. Within hours, the story was reversed. Officials claimed it had all been a misunderstanding. The mysterious debris was nothing more than the remains of a weather balloon. Photographs were released showing officers posing casually with scraps of foil and rubber, smiling as if the entire episode were a harmless mistake. The message was clear. Nothing unusual had happened here, and there was nothing to see. Case closed. Except it wasn't. The abrupt reversal raised an unsettling question that has never fully gone away. How could one of the most disciplined and technologically advanced military forces on Earth mistake a simple meteorological device for a flying disc? Why did the original statement exist at all? And why was the correction delivered with such urgency, almost desperation? For many Americans, this was the moment when trust cracked. The silence that followed felt heavier than any explanation. In that instant, Roswell stopped being a forgotten town in the desert and became something far more powerful. A symbol. A symbol of secrecy, of hidden knowledge, and of the unsettling possibility that humanity was not alone, and that the truth, whatever it was, had been locked away behind classified files and forced smiles. What began as scattered debris in a field became the foundation of modern UFO mythology, the first chapter in a story that would haunt the United States for generations. And as the dust settled over the New Mexico desert, one question lingered in the collective mind of the nation. If this really was just a balloon, why did it feel like the beginning of something much bigger? As the initial headlines faded and public attention was carefully redirected elsewhere, a new and more controlled narrative emerged. According to official statements released years later, the Roswell incident had never involved anything extraordinary. The debris, the military insisted, belonged to Project Mogul, a highly classified Cold War operation designed to monitor potential Soviet nuclear tests using long-range, high-altitude balloon arrays equipped with sensitive acoustic equipment. In theory, this explanation fit the geopolitical climate of the time. The Soviet Union had just become America's primary strategic rival. Secrecy was paramount, and unconventional technology was being tested across the country. From a purely strategic standpoint, the story made sense. But history is rarely shaped by logic alone. The problem was not just what the government said, it was how and when it said it. The Project Mogul explanation did not appear immediately. It arrived decades later, long after witnesses had passed away, memories had faded, and key documents had vanished into classified archives. For many Americans, this delay felt less like clarification and more like retroactive justification. If the truth was so simple, why had it taken so long to tell it? And why had the original press release explicitly mentioned a flying disc? Former military personnel and civilians began to speak out, often late in life, when fear of consequences no longer outweighed the burden of silence. Some described debris that behaved unlike any known material of the 1940s metal that could be twisted without creasing, beams that seemed indestructible, and fragments covered in strange markings that did not resemble any known writing system. Others spoke of armed guards, sealed transport vehicles, and strict orders never to discuss what they had seen. Whether these accounts were accurate, exaggerated, or distorted by time, they shared a common theme. Whatever happened at Roswell triggered an immediate and unusually aggressive response from authorities. Perhaps the most damaging element was inconsistency. The official explanation did not evolve naturally. It changed abruptly and repeatedly. First, confirmation of a recovered flying disc, then a weather balloon. Years later, a classified surveillance project. Each shift weakened public confidence. Governments can survive secrecy, but they rarely survive contradiction. Roswell became a textbook example of how rapidly trust can erode when explanations appear reactive rather than transparent. It planted a lasting suspicion that some truths, especially those with the power to disrupt society, are deliberately withheld. Over time, Roswell transcended the event itself and became a cultural fault line. It marked the birth of modern UFO mythology and permanently altered the relationship between American citizens and official authority. From that point forward, every unexplained aerial phenomenon, every leaked memo, and every government denial was filtered through the same question first raised in 1947. What else are they not telling us? Roswell no longer needed proof to remain alive in the public imagination. Its power came from uncertainty. By the end of the 20th century, Roswell stood as more than a Cold War footnote. It had become a symbol of secrecy in the age of information, a reminder that once doubt is introduced, it cannot be erased, only managed. And so the debate continues, generation after generation. Was Roswell simply a misunderstood military project hidden behind clumsy communication? Or was it the moment humanity brushed against something truly unknown, only to have the truth quietly sealed away? The answers may still lie buried in the desert of New Mexico or locked forever behind files marked classified.